It's time to rock and roll!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Movie Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today, as always, is my co-host, Gina Versa. Gene, how we doing?
Doing pretty good. Surviving the heat. And then we're in the post 100s of the podcast, so
Yeah,
crazy
102.
era. 102.
Yeah, 102. I think at first we were like, you brought it up. We were like 15 episodes in. You're like, should we start numbering these? And I was like, oh shit, yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah,
And it was like that's like how far I think we've come, Not like we're not like the biggest podcast ever, but it's like, oh yeah, some people don't even think about that. Some people just like upload stuff constantly, and it's like, how many did we do?
Yeah.
Gene, we have a very special guest with us today. Who do we have here?
Oh, it's a friend of mine. I met him through our good friend Terrence, Nick Limon from IGN.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? So, 102. You bring me in 2 episodes after your big 100 spectacular. I feel like that's I gotta bring the energy for something like that.
It's you have plenty of energy already. The energy will come up in the conversation. But thank you for joining us. And I think that was very nice of you to say, by the way. How are you? What's going on? Tell the people about yourself. All that jazz.
Oh man, I'm good. My name's Nick Limon. I'm a supervising producer over at IGN. What that means is I honestly don't know. It's just someone hasn't fired me yet, so I think I'm doing okay so far.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I split my time between like branded content during normal IGN times and then during our event season, aka E3, Comic-Con, Gamescom, and any big event. I'm kind of like full in on the like live stream. I directed our Comic-Con show. Like that kind of involvement on a live production is kind of where I cut my teeth in production.
Nice. Yeah, I was watching some of the streams during Comic-Con this year. It seemed pretty intense and everything. It was, but they were great though, right?
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it's very hectic. And I think I speak for everyone who does live production to some extent. If it doesn't feel like you're about to like lose your job, something's not right. Like it's that thrill that something bad could happen is where you kind of excel at. And I think that's probably the most fun part about being live.
Yeah. You guys were at the Hard Rock Hotel, is that correct?
Yeah, that's where IGN's been set up for a while at the Hard Rock. That's where our live studio is, and that's where we have all of the celebs, guests, producers, agents, and all of them. They all come through and cycle through our studio.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about like the prep for that? Because I remember we ran into each other on the train for the Wednesday of Comic-Con. You guys were like kind of in this like more like huddle, and it seemed like it was like you're going into like the Super Bowl or something.
Kinda, yeah. I feel like by that point everything had been planned, quote unquote. Like we did built the show in advance, decide which interviews are going to air at what times, kind of get a rough idea of what to expect going in. But you can only prep for so long. At a certain point it's just, well, we've done everything we can. Now it's just a matter of getting into the studio and actually pointing some cameras in some directions and figuring out what's actually doable. So yeah, it was kind of just a lot of pre-game chatter, if you will, on that train.
Yeah.
I'll just say really quick, because I've been reading IGN and watching the videos on there for like easily a decade, probably more, like just in hindsight. And I like trailed off, not for lack of quality. I just want to make that clear. It's just like,
how dare you?
But we're all like getting our own directions, like for the rest of our life, career wise, all that jazz. You have less time to like keep up with the stuff that you used to keep up with. But exactly. I will say, I remember Comic-Con coverage always being over the Hard Rock. So I first went to Comic-Con in 2016. I saw that happening up there. I was like, oh, that's cool. I know that. And then this year, when I was walking around with Gene again, he was pointing that out. And I was like, oh, they have the other, that's IGN over there. And I was like, oh my God. So it's like, do the little wave for the camera, like probably not making it into the camera background because, you guys are like kind of lifted above. Like
right. You see out basically by the trains and all that. Yeah, no, I that's legitimately one of my favorite shots that we have is just all the crowds. Like for the most part, I don't really get an opportunity to attend Comic Con proper because I'm
Mhm.
basically in a studio for 8+ hours. And then by the time we're done, it's like, well, the convention floor is basically closed. But I don't mind though. I much prefer doing what I'm doing. But to
Yeah.
this day, I've never once set foot in the convention
What? Dang.
center.
What about like Sunday? Sunday's just is that just kind of the wrap up day or?
Yeah, by then I'm like, all right, I
Oh,
gotta bounce.
yeah.
I'm tired. I'm
Yeah.
over it. Let's get out of
Yeah.
here.
Sunday feels like that day where you're just like wiped out because I think well obviously I went did a little too much those days, but like Sunday is just like I was like just thinking like, man, I want to go home. Like I just want to be in my own bed, like talk to
Mhm.
my friends, family, you know, because
Yeah, the homesickness sets in after a while.
yeah. Because like I was describing Comic Con to someone where like they've never been. And Diego, this was your first year, so you guys could tell me how accurate it is. Where it almost feels like you're entering like this other realm, like another like a video game or like some like Ready Player One reality, and it's like everything's like elevated, and it's just like you're living in a different reality for like a couple days.
I don't know about the Ready Player One comparison.
I can think of
I
anything
think
better.
it feels like I think you had mentioned it feels like kind of like a nerd getaway camp a little
Yeah.
bit, and it
Nerd
kind of
summer camp.
does. Yeah, that I think is pretty accurate, especially now. Like if you're older, you can head out to the bars and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and that's when it starts becoming like it feels like a true like vacation. Even though I know you guys and like a handful of our friends were working all the time there,
Yeah.
like at least the first couple days, and so I
w-
was like,
I was
I'm
working
having a
Wednesday and
blast.
Thursday. Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday, and then they're like, I asked for the day off Friday, and I got partial the day Thursday, so I got to enjoy
Nice.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it really is kind of like a getaway, which is super like refreshing, even though we're like exhausted by the end of it. And yeah, by that fifth day or the fourth day, I guess, for Sunday, it's like, yeah, this was super fun. I can't wait to come back. I'm also
Yeah.
very glad to be leaving now.
Yeah.
I'm ready to sleep in my own bed again. I just
Yeah.
remember waking
Mhm.
up like on Sunday morning, kind of just like pushing myself out of bed, and I just felt like miserable. And like I even had a good like last day. We
Yeah.
we hung out with some friends while we were all waiting to decide what to do. I left earlier than them. They went to go, I don't know, whatever you guys did, Gene.
We were
And
trying to just figure out like where to eat. Like we had like a brain fog or something where it was like it took us like 30 minutes to be like, all right, Spaghetti Factory has too big of a line. We need to get to this hotel to check out, and then the train leaves at 7. We need to like figure this out, and it took like 30 minutes.
I think it's called exhaustion.
Exhaustion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick, can you attest to that? Like the brain, like the delirium of like Comic Con sometimes.
I think I was still kind of in like work get it done mode. So like when I wake up and like my coworkers are like, all right, where are we eating? I'm like, all right, let's go here. This is
No,
it.
okay.
Everyone cool with this? Let's do it. All right, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
We do have a place we like to go to though. It's called Werewolf. It's like
Oh.
a pub. It's a pub slash like brunch area. They got good burgers, beer, coffee, whatever. Real cool vibes there. And it's
Yeah.
not too far from the Hard Rock.
Oh, nice.
No.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so what restaurant should we recommend in like San Diego? Because we went to like a few, I would say. Any places?
I always stand by Werewolf. That's
Werewolf?
my go-to because it's cool. They got just about everything. So that's my vote. Werewolf.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a couple of, like little niche like mom and pop spots like that were like kind of cornered away that I don't remember the names of, so that's on me. But I got to vouch for claim jumpers at a hotel.
Dude.
You have to
Like,
say that story.
I do. So like, well, there's a couple. So the first night I get there, Gene and I aren't like hanging out. He's working. I'm just like, I'm gonna go do my own thing. I'm fucking hungry though, so I need to eat something before we like get the night started. So I'm just at the bar by myself, and then I see other like people with the Comic-Con badges sitting around this bar in the claim jumpers I'm at, and I was like, maybe I'll just have a beer. That food looks pretty good. You know what? I'll get fish and chips, whatever. And it's like, I like claim jumpers. I don't go a lot, but It was pretty good, and maybe I was just hungry. Who knows? And then I see everyone at the bar starting to exchange like, "Oh, is that a Long Island iced tea? Oh, what beer is that?" Yeah, and we just all start talking, and like it was like a fun like party vibe already, just with the claim jumpers, and it's like weird to say. Like age groups all over. There was like some kids who were younger than me. There was like clearly like middle-aged people just like trying to figure out what to get before like heading out to the first night party and stuff like that. Then the last day, this is where I almost like started fighting Gene. So he's wrapping up Comic-Con. He's brain dead basically from exhaustion.
Yeah.
And he's like he took a very expensive taxi on the way back because I think if you walked, you would have died.
I would have like
passed out in the street.
Yeah, I think that's
And so I was like, all right, I don't know where anyone else is at. I was doing my own thing most of the day anyways. I'm just gonna go back, claim jumpers, and wrap up this weekend that way. And then Gene's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna head back, and then we can go eat. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll wait for Gene. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then I invited my friend too. I was like, yeah, okay, that guy was cool. Like I want to make clear the friend was like totally great, not them. This is completely on Gene. And then he was like, oh yeah, look, let's just wait for the friend to get there after me. And I was like, okay, well, how long, dude? I'm like hungry, and this place closes in like 2 hours. Wow, just wait. So it's like 10 o'clock. Claim jumpers closes at 11. I'm like, dude, okay, well, is he coming? He's like, oh yeah, let me invite him. I was like, what?
It was like 9 or something.
No, it was later than that.
Okay,
because I was keeping a watching that because I wanted a steak. I promised not just myself but the people of film Twitter that I would have a steak that weekend, and I had not had one yet by that point. And I was like, I need to do this, otherwise I'm gonna look like a coward. And I am.
These moments from cancellation, and you keep him. You keep him. You put him in jeopardy. You put his job in jeopardy. Gene.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah, sorry.
And the steak was fantastic when we finally had it. Gene Antonio, right?
Yeah, Antonio. Yeah,
Antonio, great guy, great conversationalist.
I bought you that steak.
You did buy me that steak.
Yeah.
We had some potentially very good news to celebrate that we'll hopefully we'll be able to talk about in the future.
Yes.
Ooh.
And it went great. But there was a fucking just like a half hour of that where I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna eat today. Because I this is on me. This part's on me.
Yeah.
When you're like in the Comic-Con like rush, this is like the danger. We like gave Comic-Con 101 notes last week on the podcast. Like, make sure you snack, make sure you hydrate. Don't be afraid to take some granola bars, get some water bottles, or like your little water canteen. You know, they're not that expensive to get a decent one. Make sure you're stocked up on those, because you'll lose track of stuff real quick, and then next thing you know, it's 9 p.m. and you haven't eaten in like 12 hours. So don't do that.
Yeah,
that's
stay hydrated.
completely on me. Yeah, stay hydrated. But is it safe to say we're all kind of over the Comic-Con fatigue a little bit now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. Adjusted to reality. No one got COVID, right? We're all COVID free.
Yeah.
I did, unfortunately.
No.
I got COVID. It's my first bout.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was my first bout. I'm good now. I'm
Okay.
fine. It was awful for a bit, but I'm fully recovered now.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'm like, did we just like force someone to come onto our podcast? And they're like, you're like,
I'm at day 3. I'm feverish right now. No, I'm like I'm completely over it now.
Oh,
okay, good. I was gonna feel so bad right now.
We were just talking about steaks, but yeah. No, I mean, it's a good time to be had. I was gonna say, Nick, you guys had IGN had the best Comic-Con party too.
Oh, thank you very much. The bar was definitely open the latest at that party compared to the fandom one.
Oh yeah, well, I was gonna say, I remember someone said that it was supposed to close at like 11 or something, right? Like 11:30, and we were there till like 12 or something.
Yeah, it closed pretty early.
Yeah.
Very surprising.
Yeah.
It was still fun though. Still great time.
Good. Yeah, it was good. Callisto Chronicles. Yeah.
Oh, Callisto. What was that one? I'm not that up to date.
Oh, that's the Dead Space successor, the Callisto Protocol.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dead Space?
Yeah, it's like the spiritual successor. It's from the same guy's name's Glenn Schofield. He basically is one of the fathers of Dead Space, and he's basically making a spiritual successor to it. And it looks pretty good. And I'm not just saying that because they sponsored our party. I legitimately think that that game looks very good.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like, because I don't want to say there was another party that was sponsored by the Halo show. It's like, could not say anything positive about the Halo show.
Hey, some people have seen it.
Nick, have you seen Halo?
I'm a big Halo boy. I
Yeah.
have not watched the Halo TV show, but I will because I was
Okay.
waiting for all of Players to come out on Paramount Plus so I can just do that free subscription for a month, watch both of them, and then call it a day.
Get out of like the Paramount Plus. That seems like the worst streaming service, but
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like apparently I don't have it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
check it out because I heard the new Star Trek shows, like the good one, Strange New
Yeah.
Worlds, and
yeah.
I love Star Trek. I like Nick. I love Halo, specifically the Bungie era, or
Same.
which like iconic, right? And then I actually will defend Halo 4 to an extent. Like I think
extent.
I love Halo 4.
Yeah.
I think
Halo
it's a
4 is
solid
great.
game. I think it's a solid game. I don't know what happened with the fifth one.
Fifth
No one has been able to explain to me, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, like I'll probably end up watching it like that too, just because like that's how they get you. You're a fan of something, and it's like it doesn't matter how bad it is. Like if you like are such a fan of something, at some point your curiosity is gonna get the best of you. And I
Yeah.
guess Paramount Plus, like the one thing they have going for it is apparently like the quality of the actual stream is like really good.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh.
they have like HDR and stuff like that. Like I was watching Prey, a movie I raved about, and
Prey's
I'm
great.
gonna we're
we'll
gonna talk
saw
about
it at Beyond Fest, right? We'll talk about that later.
yeah we'll talk about what
Yeah.
we've seen later. I want to get more into what Nick's doing too, but like
Mhm.
the quality of the Hulu stream on opening night, it's like 1080p, which is like not really a deal breaker for me. But
Yeah.
having seen it on the big screen, I was like, this looked better.
Yeah.
The other
Also,
day.
that movie's pretty dark. So like whenever a show or a movie is primarily dark and then you're streaming it, it just gets crushed. Like it
Yeah.
is so hard to it gets so compressed by whatever streaming algorithm is getting used. I think a lot of platforms are getting better, but yeah, that's always the biggest bummer, especially when you see it in the best way possible, and then you get home and it's almost like a compromised version of it.
Yeah, that's not that movie's fault. It's no movie's fault. It's just the
Oh,
reality
yeah.
of streaming. Physical media is always going to look better, and it kind of sucks that it might not ever be released on physical media, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And enough. We'll get back to
Yeah.
that. We'll circle back.
Like-
Nick, could you talk a little bit more about like the work you produce?
Mhm.
And I'm actually curious about like what's the most difficult stream you've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
Oh man.
If
Well,
you can say, I don't know if it's like I don't want to get
yeah,
you in trouble.
no. I should be all right. I think as far as what I do, I think like a lot of producers, I kind of do just about everything. I think producer is like always a catch-all title that basically means you can do every part of the production. So primarily my responsibilities 9 months out of the year are towards the branded content side of IGN, meaning, hey, this sponsor wants to sponsor a Let's Play, or they want to do like a deep dive history video on their franchise or whatever. And I'm the guy who kind of helps ideate and come up with those ideas, and then of course see it through from development all the way to production and post and all that jazz. I think I used to be doing a lot more of that myself, like actually writing and editing and shooting and all that. But I think as I've kind of gotten like promotions and stuff, I think it's more now it's a little bit more of like a delegating kind of role, where I'm kind of expected to handle multiple projects and then like empower people like, hey, I know you like this, like you should make a video for this since this seems like in your wheelhouse, or like, hey, just trying to empower people to basically do the stuff that I did. That way I can eventually just hopefully fall asleep somewhere in a corner in an office and no one will know I'm there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the goal is to get everyone kind of self-sustained and just ideally just cultivating a positive like team mentality. That's kind of my biggest goal, is to make sure everyone's, sometimes work is tough, but at least it could be fun because we do a lot of cool stuff. So that's kind of my main goal. That's me 9 months out of the year. But then, as I kind of alluded to earlier, during our event season is where I kind of get pulled back onto the editorial core side of IGN, where I'm kind of executing on all of our live broadcasts, because that's how basically I got my start in this industry, is like live production. So it's always fun to be able to step back into those shoes and really pull off uh, big, expansive like live shoots like this, like our Comic Con. It was like 5 to 6 different camera inputs, each with a fully staffed crew.
Wow.
We had our like stage hands, we had our full team of playback operators and all that jazz. It was a lot of fun. It was my
Yeah.
first time directing a show of this scope.
Oh shoot.
But yeah,
Congrats.
it was a lot of fun. But as far as the hardest show, honestly, it's probably Comic Con. I would say Comic Con is the hardest because I'm usually involved in the planning of
Mhm.
Comic Con, where someone books like, oh, we booked a cast interview with the cast of Star Trek. What? So now then we get a bunch of those, like, oh, the cast of Lord of the Rings, we booked them and stuff like that. So then at a certain point, once we get enough of those bookings, it is my responsibility to work with the other like showrunners and show producers to actually build out what is going to play in our broadcast schedule and coming up with our shooting schedule, all that jazz. But when you have over like 42 different IPs that are all coming into your studio, you're connecting with their agents, managers, and all that stuff. So then it becomes a game of Tetris where you're trying to figure out like, okay, the cast of Prey is coming in this 20-minute time window. That's a 10-minute overlap with the cast of Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
The problem is the cast of Prey was 4 people. Lord of the Rings is 20. How do we accommodate for that many seats within the span of 10 minutes? And
Yeah.
like those kind of logistical puzzles are, I think, some of the most fun things that you can do, because
Mhm.
it's very much like you can plan for it as much as you want, but once you actually step foot in the studio, that's when you have to actually be able to pull it off, and that's what I enjoy doing the most.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, producing, like, just making shit happen, basically, right?
Yeah, pretty much, or
Yeah.
at least helping others to make shit happen.
Yeah. I was gonna say, also, can you talk a little bit about getting your start on the attack? Like that's where you kind of like get your teeth and everything.
Yeah, that's basically, before that I had worked as like an automobile inspector, and I just desperately wanted to get into entertainment, video games, and all that, because that's the thing I love dearly. And I remember a buddy of mine said that there was a opening for like a PA role, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna give it a shot. And yeah, I showed up, and basically same idea. It was a live like video game comedy show that was like a 2 hour live show that aired 3 times a week.
Mhm.
So it was very exciting to work with because it was a startup at the end of the day.
Right.
So it was very small. No one was getting, like, everyone was being paid, but it's different startup versus like an actual corporation.
Yeah.
So it was just small, intimate team with super tight turnarounds, and you kind of learn like, out of all the things, I think the most impressive thing that I walked away with is when you have such a small team like that and you're all firing on all cylinders, you become like this sort of amorphous blob during production where everyone can sort of read each other's minds when the live show is happening. And so like, I don't need
Mhm.
to direct any cameras because they already know what I want them to point their
Mm.
camera at, and I can just cut to them. And like, it just works that way. And it was very strange, and I don't think I'll ever actually get to experience that sort of interconnected mind meld again.
Mhm.
But out of all the things, like, that's the thing that sets the high bar for what I want my productions to look like. I like the idea of people knowing, oh, well, Nick's doing this. That means,
Mhm.
Nick's cool if I jump on camera and just have fun with it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like, trying to empower people to have that sort of like ability to improvise is always nice, because at the end of the day, we all want to play, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's just helping people play, and when they play, what that strength is for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think a big part of like any production, frankly, is like just everyone having to like put the work in, but also everyone, sometimes it's not fun, and that's like okay. Sometimes
Yeah.
the work is a little rigorous and intense. But you know, we all do want to have fun on set, and it's cool to hear like you guys were, you know, like an X-Men team. You're like Professor X, like everyone's like
Yeah,
reading each
pretty
other's
much.
minds, sending up
Yeah.
brain signals to each other and stuff like that. That's pretty great.
What X-Men would you be now?
Oh man. I think I have to answer Wolverine simply because I'm short.
Oh.
Uh, I'm short and hairy, so yeah, Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine's the best X-Men character.
He's pretty good.
Well, let's calm down, Gene.
Unfortunately, as a kid, I also liked Cyclops only
Ah.
because he was really cool in Marvel vs. Capcom. But as I got older, I was like, man, Cyclops is kind of a narc.
Yeah, he is like he cheats on Jean Grey with Emma Frost. You know,
That's
where
like
it's
okay.
at.
We're gonna fucking get into this. Cyclops
Okay,
is supposed to be the
so-
Captain America of the X-Men. A little goody two shoes. If you don't write him right, he's a little boring.
Mhm.
But recent development have turned him into a terrorist,
A
which
terrorist.
is like which I have like no problem with. I think it's a fascinating
Sure.
direction, you know, making more antagonistic. But I
Mhm.
do think, you know, let's keep it all in perspective. He was not always the dude who would have killed Professor X like
Yeah,
5 years
Yeah.
ago or however long ago that
it was
story
like
was.
10 years ago.
Was it really already?
Yeah, it's old.
Don't say that. Oh, we're so
Avengers
fucking
versus
old.
X-Men. Yeah,
We're so fucking old, Gene.
yeah.
I think the
Um,
last X-Men I read is the House of X.
Oh,
the,
them?
the
Mhm.
semi-recent. I think that was like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
2-3 years ago. That was like I don't really go all in on like superhero comics just because I find it daunting.
yeah.
But every now and
Odd.
then, like one of the comic editors at IGN, he goes, Nick, I know you don't really read superhero ones, but you should read this. It's short and sweet and it's pretty good. And it was a good time.
Yeah, we've had our discourse about comics and how like I think some of these things need end dates. You know, like
Mhm.
they're like, why can't we bring in new readers? And it's like, what? Who knows where to start anymore? You know,
Yeah,
I think
exactly,
limited
yeah.
series. You know, like 5 to 10 years, like this universe can exist for that long, and then that's it, right? Like I think that's
Mhm.
like probably a way to go about doing it. Like a hard reset at some point you probably need, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, on that note, this isn't like we didn't talking about this at all, but like, are there any comics like you would recommend, even outside of superhero stuff?
Oh man, well, admittedly, I probably read fewer comics nowadays, but I do read a lot of manga.
Oh, that works too.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite manga, like the one that I'm putting my flag in the ground right now, and I'm calling it. The thing that's going to be anime of the year is Chainsaw Man. It's going to be the thing that people aren't going to be able to shut up about. I read the manga from beginning to end, and it came back for its new like I guess new arc that it's
Mhm.
in. But I read that when it was initially coming out during the pandemic, and man, it's real good. If you haven't read Chainsaw Man, I think it is some of the best manga out there, truly. And I think that it's mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto, I believe is his
Mhm.
name. Fujimoto is his last name, but terrific writer, terrific mangaka, and he also has 2 one-shots that are just independent of Chainsaw Man that are all about like the creative process and being a mangaka and being a creative type. And they're short and sweet stories that are heartbreaking and beautiful, real good stuff. Other recommendations, real quick. My favorite manga is one called Delicious in Dungeon. It's basically your typical RPG party dungeon dive, but the gimmick of the manga is that they're poor, and so they, in order to survive and sustain themselves, they hunt and prepare monsters in the dungeon. But it's all done like with an Instagram level of like, wow, this is an adorable looking like bento box of like giant walking mushroom stew and a chimera jerky or something. Like it's very cool with how it presents it, and it's a very very charming manga. Highly recommended. Only other actual like comic that I've read recently is, for the first time, I finally read. I haven't finished it. Sandman. Sandman's a good
Nice.
time, and just started watching the show, and show's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been hearing nothing but good things. I haven't started yet, but I'm gonna take the dive because yeah, Neil Gaiman, amazing writer. That original Sandman run is just so revolutionary. So
It's terrific. It
Yeah,
goes down easy.
yeah,
I
it's the
love
art too.
Neil Gaiman. Like I think my favorite of his is Stardust, which is like
Mm-mm.
it's like a storybook, but also like a lot of like drawings in it, and it's like a perfect blend of like literature and like art styles, and it's cool. But yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised how much positive stuff I heard about
Yeah.
Sandman, because this is not specific to this show, but sometimes when you adapt something that's born out of animation or a comic book, they kind of like pull back on the stylization a little too much for my
Mhm.
liking. I'm not gonna name names, Paper Girls, but there's some stuff where I'm like, wow,
Oh.
this doesn't look very good. And I only say that because I loved Paper Girls, the Paper Girls comics.
Right.
But then Sandman's supposed to be really good, so I'm like, okay, cool. I will check that out eventually, because I'm getting back into catching up on more TV shows also right now, and
Yeah.
I'm having a
many
good
of
time.
It was also thought to be like an unfilmable style show or
Mhm.
comic. So like I again like I'm not the biggest proponent of a lot of original programming that Netflix has, but that
Yeah.
said, I do think the show is pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the fact that like it actually got made, because there's been so many starts and stops in like the Sandman production. Like it was going to be a movie at one point, and the fact that like it actually went through.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. Do you guys know why? Like, I don't mind like they kind of like changed the characters of like Lucifer and Constantine, but do you think they did that just to like differentiate from like the CW, like Constantine? Like, okay, these are different universes.
I think
Probably.
it's that, and then Gaiman was on an episode of WTF with Mark Maron, and
Hmm.
I that guy gets really great interviews, and
Yeah,
so
he's a good.
Gaiman was talking about it, and he was like, they they didn't look at it as like we have to adapt everything from the source material like directly, and then they looked at the characters and were like, does anything change if this person isn't white,
Yeah.
if they're not a
Hmm.
white man?
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of white guys in the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, whatever. Like Neil Gaiman wasn't
For sure.
like he didn't like die by that sword either. So respect to
Yeah.
that. And he was like, the answer is no. Like these people don't need to all be like one-to-one representations of who they were in the comic. So
Hmm.
let's open up
Yeah.
the playing field, and that's how you
Mhm.
get these different castings. Like maybe
Yeah.
there's some inner studio politics that were there.
Sure.
I don't think so.
Mhm.
He seemed like a very open, honest kind of
Yeah.
It
answer.
seems like based on everything Gaiman's been talking about, it just feels like it was kind of made in the best possible way it could have, because it was like a thing that for the longest time he absolutely did not want to adapt, and then
Hmm.
unless the circumstances called for it, and it sounds like he basically got to call the shots for a vast majority of it, and I think they pulled it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an adaptation in that it is not a one to one. It
Hmm.
does do it does vary from the source material, but I think that's what makes it kind of exciting, because as you know, a fan, you get something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'm a big proponent of adaptations like evolving. I don't
Yeah.
like I think one of the biggest ones that was kind of like disorienting for me at first was like The Walking Dead when that first started, and everyone really liked it, and I did too. It was like, okay, there's like it's different, but why isn't this working? Is it because it's different? And at first is what I thought, and I was like, no, this show just kind of trails off at a certain point. The quality and
Yeah.
the marriage of adaptation do not intersect. They were weird for different reasons. And
Hmm.
also Gaiman was saying that like he was brought on to be the guy to adapt it for Netflix, because he's kind of got to start with TV. I think he wrote some old episodes of old shows. I can't remember. I know he did 2 episodes of Doctor Who, and he said one of them uh, got him a lot of awards commendation. He's very proud of it. And the other one, he was like, "Well, that's not really what I wrote. How could I stop that from happening again?" And so that's
Uh,
why he goes on and
Yeah.
does American Gods with Brian Fuller, and then American Gods without Brian Fuller.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I was wondering, like, is that show that got canceled, right?
That
That
got
was like,
canceled. Yeah, that
it
yeah.
had a
did.
whole fuck ton of problems too, even outside
Yeah.
of their conflict. But
Okay.
yeah, it's
I
unfortunate.
I just sorry, I just have the image in my head though of like Mark Maron reading the Sandman comic. It's like, what is
Apparently,
this?
he did read it before. Like he
Okay.
I guess his current girlfriend's like a fan. He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll show it to my cats or something, or however he talks."
So he shows it to his cats. He's playing Lex Luthor in Superbad.
Mark Maron's like,
yeah, he's Lex Luthor. Yeah, did you guys see that or no?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have to ask Terrence about that. He's the biggest Mark Maron fan apparently. He's just telling me all the.
I love. Well, we can talk about how we all know Terrence too. I love Terrence. But when the Michael Mann episode of Maron dropped, all the boys were sending each other reactions to the Michael Mann interview. That was great. That was a great night on Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick, how do you know Terrence?
I was introduced to Terrence through I'm dating his cousin.
Okay.
Yeah. And from there I met at one of the many giant family gatherings that happened, and I was just like, oh, this guy's kind of like me. He's a big nerd like me, so we got along very quickly.
Yeah.
I discovered the room where everyone was playing Smash Brothers, and I was like, okay, these are my people.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Gene, why isn't Terrence on this show?
I don't know. Can't book him. He's been too busy.
He has been busy.
Yeah.
But we'll get him on at some point.
He's been on so many times too.
That's true.
I think he's been on like 4 times already. Like if we look through all this. Yeah, I want to say so. Yeah, like 4.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway,
it's him and Trevor. They're like the biggest guest stars we have now.
Mm-hmm.
They come back the most. But
yeah,
all right. I mean, we were talking about stuff we've been watching recently, so let's just hop into like one of my favorite segments to do on the show. It's just called What We're Watching. It's an excuse to talk about literally anything we've been watching. It's not. It's cat. I don't know why I built it up like that. I never do that. We just talk about whatever we're watching. Right. I talked a lot about Nope and Prey last week. Nick, your first time here. What have you been watching? Take as long as you want.
Yeah,
I'm trotting on well-trodden ground, but I barely. So my thing was, since post Comic-Con, I was with the vid, and I was basically down and out. I was kicking myself at the height of my fever that I could not watch Nope yet, because Nope came out during Comic-Con, and I was just dying. And like every time I'd see someone start to like a feed like on Twitter, or just like, oh, is someone about to make a mention of Nope? Force closing the app, throwing my phone at the wall, and just going back to sleep kind of thing, because I did not like. I feel like it's getting worse and worse. With thing comes out next day, here's the breakdown of that big scene. And let's be very clear, IGN is also a big. They do this a lot too, but Nope was one where they did it, and I just saw a lot of outlets doing like, what does this scene actually mean? And I'm like, no, stop. The movie just came out. Leave me alone. And so after I'd recovered, I tested negative, and I'm good to go. I'm good to join society again. I booked a ticket for my partner and I to go watch Nope, and I really had a good time. It is a very different movie that I expected it to be. I think it owned.
You were in good company.
Yeah,
I'm a big sucker for alien movies, and this hit real good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, were you also screaming in the theater when Kiki Palmer did the Akira bike slide? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But just, I don't know, like I'm not gonna delve too much into spoilers here or anything, but I did not expect the movie to basically be a kaiju movie to some extent. So that was the thing that I was like, oh, that was cool. And just a lot of beautiful little flourishes that are like cool details that add so much to the visual, like audio visual storytelling that Jordan Peele's so good at. Like just the mask, the flag mask hanging out from the object that you can kind of tell where it's at in the clouds. Like that's such a nice touch. Or how you can hear the screams of people in the ship, and that tells you where it's at. Like there's so many cool details like that. And then the sudden, when the screams stop at the drop of a hat, like it's so haunting and so good. And just that the opening scene too, with the chimp looking at the camera, like the chimp looking at the camera, That messed me up. Like it just was so scary looking.
Yeah,
Well-
I've been tweeting a lot about Gordy. I'm a big Gordy fan now. I'll tweet out like, "Oh, Gordy innocent" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, that was like terrifying. Like the stuff with
Yeah.
Gordy was horrifying. I'm not like I'm not sugarcoating that. Like that did mess me
Yeah.
up a lot.
Well, I mean, he's an animal. Nothing you can
Mhm.
do about it, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
can you imagine fighting a monkey? Like
No,
if a
that
monkey
was
was coming out.
That's a nightmare. One,
Yeah.
you would be gunned down first, Gene, because he's a chimp and not a monkey. How dare you?
Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, I was like really scary because I was like thinking because that when you first watch, you're like, why is this scene here? But then when you think about it, is how Stephen Ewan was it Jew?
Wait. We're
I'm
not
sorry.
we're
Yeah.
not going that deep.
Okay,
We're not
okay,
going
we
that
won't,
deep.
we won't say too many spoilers, but it
But-
connects to the rest of the film, and it's like,
It connects thematically, and it's
Mhm.
very funny that Logan Paul of all people was like, "What's this movie about? I don't get it. I'm the guy that filmed the dead body in the
Dead
woods,
body?
but I don't understand what this movie about exploitation of spectacles about."
yeah,
And it's just so fucking funny.
yeah.
It's like
did you
it's
get?
so perfect.
Did you guys see Chris Kattan liked it too?
Yes,
Ah, that was the best.
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
Catan,
people.
he's just crushing it.
I want them to like de-age all the SNL people, like, and reenact that skit, like if that's like a special feature. Use the digital de-aging to like make that skit happen because that sounds kind of funny.
Deep fake old SNL bits for your movie.
Yeah. God, I love that. I love this movie too because it's like it's basically, and I'm trying not to spoil it, but it's like Jordan Peele's Jaws, right?
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
that's a spoiler. It's like if you've seen Jaws or you know like the structure of Jaws or anything,
Mhm.
like once you're like about the halfway point, even before you're like, oh, he's doing Jaws, but it's an alien instead. And also someone on Twitter, because I posted a tweet about like how Prey and Nope got me excited about alien movies again. Like not that I stopped liking them, it's been a while, right? Since you got like a really
Yeah.
great one. And I was like, oh man, it's great to have these alien movies. And someone tweeted like, hey, I didn't know Nope was about aliens. You got to be careful with spoilers, man. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Nowadays, it's so hard to tell what people consider. Like, no, I'm sorry, saying that a movie has a twist is not a spoiler. That's just basic ass writing.
Mhm.
Like, that's just structured. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Didn't you watch the
But it-
Twilight Zone? Yeah. It's like,
or like even like
it's
in,
fine.
yeah, and I'll go even further. Like, is there something in the inciting incident that you have to use to talk about what the movie's about?
mhm.
Like, it's in the trailer, so I feel comfortable saying it now. The Otis Senior dying.
Yeah.
That's in the trailer. It's in the
Uh-huh.
last trailer at least, and it's the inciting incident of the movie. I think you
Yeah.
could describe what the movie's about without that, but if you were to bring that up like I just did, I think that's okay. It's like in literally the first like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And it's also one of those things like you can't reasonably talk about a story without talking about the story, and like revealing that happens is not take away from the movie in any way, shape, or form. You're still going to watch that, and that moment's still gonna hit because movies are more than just X happens. It is
Mhm.
watching how X happens unfold
Yeah.
visually, audio wise. Like it's a full experience. So yeah, I'm in the same camp.
Yeah, I'm
Spoilers,
really glad you're
too
on this
sensitive.
podcast.
Yeah, man.
Too sensitive.
Yeah.
But
That guy
speaking
deleted
of
their tweet.
yeah, speaking of like movies where giant aliens chase people, I also watched Prey in as part of Beyond Fest, so I got to watch it in actual theater. One of the few times apparently that's going to happen, and man, it was a good time. I had gone into Comic-Con with some of my coworkers who had actually seen it already
Mhm.
through some sort of like press thing, and I was like, I'm too busy to look into this right now. I'll just watch it when it hits Hulu. But then left Comic-Con, and my buddy was like, again, after I tested negative, he messaged me, hey, I got 2 tickets to Beyond Fest at the Arrow for Prey. Do you want to come? I was like, yes. And so he also, because his parents gave him a American Cinematheque membership
Oh,
for
nice.
his birthday, so he gets to get in front of the line whenever we go. So like I'm just always telling him like, oh man, I'm so glad I made friends with you so that I can take advantage of your American Cinematheque membership. But no, he and I watched Prey, and it's pretty good, guys.
Mhm.
It quickly I guess maybe not an arduous task, but it made itself basically number 2 in the Predator canon for me of like, yeah, this movie slaps every way, shape, and form. Only knock I have against the movie is just the transition. There's like 4 transitions too many of someone hits their head on a rock and blacks
Mm.
out. Little
Yeah.
pet peeve of mine, but that's
I
fine.
would agree with. I noticed that the second time too. I was like, they do that a couple times.
Mhm.
You probably could have not done that.
Like she'd be hurting if she blacked out via getting knocked out via rock. I don't think
Yeah.
she'd be as agile as she is. But that said, all pedantry aside, I think that movie just is an absolute
Yeah.
good time. Like every single kill got so much like uproarious applause from the audience whenever a kill happened, because every kill in that movie is so good. They're
Yeah.
so good and they're so fun. Like all of the weapons. Like I just can't imagine like that's the one question I never asked directors questions at Q&As because I never want to be the guy who asked the bad question
Yeah.
because it's just painful. But like I seriously wanted to ask, like, how do you take something basically you get an action figure of the Predator. It's the world's greatest hunter, or universe's greatest hunter to some extent, and their alien technology. How do you choose what to use, what you strip back? Because obviously this takes place before the original Predator. So it makes sense that this is a little bit more of a it's still advanced technology, but it's a little more primitive when it
Mhm.
comes to Predator technology. So like how do you limit yourself to just do stuff? Like do you design the kills first and then make the weapons after, or vice versa? Like that's the part that I'm like, oh, I'm dying to know about this one thing, because like no one thinks, man, I really want a net that just shrinks and then cuts anything that it shrinks
Yeah.
down. And I'm like, what a cool idea.
That was a good kill. I love that too.
Well,
Also incredible sound design.
Oh
Ugh.
yeah.
oh yeah. My favorite kill, I'll just say, is the bear trap.
Mhm.
You know it when you see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the sound design, both in this and Nope, were really great.
Yeah.
The score by Sarah Schachner, I think her name is.
Mhm.
She does like work with Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, that makes perfect
Well, literally,
sense.
Trachtenberg was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and was like, "I love
There you
this
go.
music," and then he just got the composer
Let's
who
get
did
that
the
one.
music for
Yeah.
that game. And you know what? It feels so oddly appropriate that you choose an Assassin's Creed game for something
Mhm.
like this, because it feels like that's the new onus for Predator movies now, is just the Assassin's Creedification of it. You just take Predator, drop them in a cool moment in history, the movie writes itself.
Yeah. Just like having the Predator just go to town on all these colonizers. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's super interesting. Like that was one of those things where my buddy and I looked at each other like, is the Predator about to massacre this entire like Comanche village? And then we were like, ooh. But then the fur trappers show up and you're like, okay, this feels right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that got the biggest, I think, applause from my audience at Comic-Con. The fur trapper stuff is
That was
that's what I'll
amazing.
leave it at.
Yeah, and then you gotta see it at Comic Con too. You almost didn't get in.
I talked about
Oh
that last
wow.
week. It was
Yeah.
it was not.
Mm,
A lot of people didn't get in after
yeah.
us. It was a
A
mess.
certain person that will say off camera didn't plan it too well.
I said it on camera. I said it's fine. It's fine. It's
Put him on blast. Make
Yeah,
it
yeah.
happen.
Can't say no.
go check out the post Comic-Con podcast for that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I've heard, because I know some family members have actually seen Prey, and like
Mhm.
for some of them it's their first Predator movie, and they just like thought it was like a good movie, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit. So it's kind of like it worked. Like this
Mhm.
movie worked for what it was supposed to do. Like apart from just being a good movie, it's like, it's clearly meant to like bring Predator back down to basics.
Mhm.
After a couple different types of
Yeah.
films that maybe didn't
Mhm.
work out super well. And I like every Predator movie. 'cause
Predator 2. Gets
I think
referenced.
Predator 2 fucking rocks. Even it's a mess,
Hold
but it
on,
rocks.
you do not like the Shane
loves-
Black Predator movie.
I like the Shane Black.
I
Predator
like
movie.
it.
No.
Yeah, a little bit. I like it. But
It's-
They
like,
it falls
weaponized
apart.
autism.
Oh, that's that.
yeah,
I do-
obviously, fuck that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like I could like
Yeah.
break down like every like thing what went wrong with that movie. That's the
Mhm.
one thing where I'm like, okay, that was Shane Black and Fred Decker. So what the fuck happened there, guys?
Yeah, and we
I
were a
won't
little.
defend that. I won't
Yeah,
defend that.
we're a little biased. We love Shane Black because his scripts are always great. But yeah, he
Oh, I
needs
mean,
to-
I love the nice guys and kiss,
Nice
kiss,
guy.
bang, bang. You know,
Monster
It's
Squad.
It's
Nah,
Monster Squad's great.
you guys can have that one. I don't hate
Okay,
it. I
no,
don't hate
it's
it.
good.
I don't
They
hate
kicked
it.
they kicked the Wolfman in the nuts.
Wolfman's
Yes.
got nards.
But Prey, it
Yeah.
serves as a standalone movie.
It
It
does.
works by itself. You don't need to have knowledge of Predator, and if you do, it's just a nice little cherry on top for you, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also love the Comanche version. That's the version I saw
The-
on the big screen.
Oh, you watched the Comanche version? For
Yeah.
oh, that was the second one for Beyond
Mhm.
Fest, right?
Yeah.
It was super interesting to hear them talk about it because they filmed it in English first, and then they did a dub because
Mhm.
it was. I believe there's different native tribes that
Mhm.
were a part of the cast, so they don't all speak Comanche. So it took a little bit to actually execute. But I'm just glad something like that exists.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
And it had a Comanche producer who was very hands-on creatively and telling them like,
Mhm.
this is more like that, not so much, or like whatever, right? And so she was
Yeah.
there at the Comic-Con Q&A too, and it was super cool that this exists. And
Yeah.
I think Trachtenberg was saying like, you know, in a perfect world he could have like filmed it in Comanche, but
Yeah.
that's
Mhm,
not
right.
what these studios want to hear. They're like,
Yeah.
no, everyone speaks English here. It's like, well, they speak other stuff
Yeah.
too, but
Well, it takes place in America, so clearly they speak
yeah,
English.
it's
Right.
so stupid.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say she was at our screening too. Her name was Jane Myers.
Yes,
Wanna say her
yeah.
name?
She's great. Like,
Yeah.
just I love that they just had like basically a consultant to be like, nah, they wouldn't do that. They
Yeah.
would do that. They would do that. Like, I just like hearing those anecdotes because I think it's just when you have a movie that's shining a light on a culture that isn't prominently featured in most media, it's cool to just learn new stuff, like just
Yeah.
straight up. So it's nice that there is that level of authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to keep you too long, so
Mhm.
let's move on from Prey. Let's talk about anything else we've seen
Let's see.
recently. I'll let you guys go for a little longer if you
Hmm.
want.
I think the only other thing that I've actively been watching is The Rehearsal, the
Oh,
new
nice.
Nathan Fielder.
Yeah, I need to get
Terrific.
into that. We love Nathan Fielder.
I have
Dude,
not seen Nathan For You.
Oh man, I hadn't watched it until recently. Like watching, and knowing that The Rehearsal is coming out, and all of my friends like, Nick, you got to watch Nathan For You. I powered through all 4 seasons on Hulu, and I will say it doesn't go down smooth because the show is designed to make you uncomfortable. But man, it's really good. And The Rehearsal just feels like the groundwork was laid down already with Nathan For You, but this is the almost like metatextual artistic reinterpretation of what he had done already.
Oh my
And now
god.
he has like HBO budget to explore the mechanics of what it means to point a camera at somebody's face and tell them to do something. Like it interrogates reality like television in some cool ways. It explores the ethics, the downsides, but also the positive sides of an unscripted reality show.
Yeah.
That's
An
amazing.
unscripted. It's really
Yeah.
good. It's really
Nathan For
good.
You.
Highly recommended. It's also just incredibly funny.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
That's about
definitely
it,
on my
then.
list.
That's all I've been watching other than Sandman.
Yeah, no, I love Nathan, so there you go.
Highly
I was
recommended.
gonna recommend Vengeance. It's from BJ Novak. It's a movie about like a podcaster. So it's a movie about like us, Diego. It's like a podcaster. He has to solve like a.
I
It's
know
like
what
a
the
true-
movie's about. Specify
Oh, no.
specifically that it's not what we have ever done.
Well, it's like a true crime podcaster. We're not that, but like, he has to like solve like an actual murder. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Doesn't quite stick the landing, but it's good. It was pretty good. And then Marcel with the she was that Marcel the seashell
Marcel with the show.
with the shell.
Marcel
Yeah,
the
that one
Shell with the
was
shoes on.
yeah. When he's looking
I
at
I didn't
Mhm.
I didn't know it was a YouTube thing first.
Yeah, I
That was
guess
like one of
so.
those things I missed. So
Mhm.
I had zero context because I watched a long ass trailer for it and I was like, oh, that's cool. They invented like a fake YouTube history, but then I was like, no, someone's like, no, that was like a YouTube thing way back when, and it looked like a charming, like wholesome little movie. So
Yeah,
is it
it's really
good?
cute. I liked it a lot. Saw it with my mom, and we both loved it. When he's looking at YouTube comments that are negative, you feel that in your soul, you know. Then yeah, that's all I've been watching, and then just YouTube. That's the new YouTube alien documentaries. We can get into that. Like there's
Like real alien extraterrestrial or
yeah,
aliens like
like
the movie.
no, like the UFOs, because there's
Oh,
like
dude, I'm in the same boat as you, man. I love
yeah,
that stuff.
like there are so many on Amazon and like Netflix and like Tubi. They're like made by these like three guys where they put together some money, interviewed like experts, put like together like stock footage, and they just sold it to Amazon. I'm like, oh, this is like oddly fascinating. Like obviously, like some of this could be obviously made up, but like in terms of like I just enjoy that because I just watched a lot when I was a kid, and then kind of writing something paranormal, so it helps set the tone, I guess. You know,
Nice.
yeah. But they're also like they're kind of wholesome, wouldn't you say, Nick? Like the YouTube documentaries.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm always I'm a big proponent of occasionally when I feel like scaring myself going onto the alien subreddit and just
Hmm.
looking at recent developments in the alien and UFO community and just letting the hair stand up on my skin and just like ooh, then I just
Yeah.
have trouble sleeping.
Hmm. Yeah, they're like, why Tom DeLodge really came back to Blink 182 just got replaced
I
by
will
an
say,
alien.
as someone who was reading something recently, like script wise, that I was doing a little of my own research because the script had involved something supernatural as well, and I was like, all right, I'm like going over the script, and it wasn't like in my mind that it is a horror script, Gene, and
Hmm.
it was like, oh, okay, yes, I'm enjoying this, I'm covering this, and then I'm like, I have that tab open. Let me look at the stuff again, and then I click on the images, and then like it, for whatever reason, that's when it started getting like under my skin. Like I was totally fine with certain things, and then like I was by myself, like I am right now, and I was like, hey, I don't. Did I turn the light on? I turned that light on over there. Okay, okay, and like, okay, that corner's a little dark. Let me move a lamp over here. Like I
Yeah.
was like freaking myself out.
Some of them are
But
creepy, man.
yeah, funnily enough, no actual movies have been scaring me recently except for Nope.
Hmm.
Nope, I think is fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
Uh, which,
Imagery.
yeah. Besides that, what have I seen? I saw. Oh, Gene, did you see The Gray Man?
No.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I
Okay, you're
didn't see
good. You're
that.
good.
No,
Nick.
can you tell?
That was one of those movies I contemplated watching during the height of my COVID fever because I was like, no, I need to be in an altered state of mind in order to put it down, you know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like
It's
it's
not a
just
real
boring.
movie.
It's just,
It's
it's
not a
just
real
it's just
movie.
fuck boring. Um.
Yeah.
Oh, but Gene, you saw Bullet Train.
Oh, I did. I
Oh,
love Bullet Train. Yeah, it was
You
like,
did?
yeah, I actually really enjoyed it.
All right, some
Me and
people
my
did.
roommate, yeah, me and my roommate, we saw it, and it was just like we had like no expectations. We saw like one or two trailers, and it's just like a wacky action movie. It's like wacky races, but with assassins, and they're all just trying to kill each other. It's like Smoking Aces or that type of genre.
How dare you? Joe Carnahan is a fantastic
yeah.
action
Oh
director.
man, so we don't like David Lynch. Was it David
David Leitch,
Lynch?
he seems like a
Leech.
nice guy, and I like Atomic Blonde, and he's obviously pivotal to getting John Wick
Deadpool two.
started.
Deadpool two. Great.
No,
No,
um,
get out of here.
I
no,
don't
I'm
really like
sorry.
Deadpool too.
Uh,
Yeah.
It,
I think John Wick 1 is cool.
mhm.
The other ones are better.
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
yeah,
It's
I
weird
agree
watching
with
that
that.
first movie.
Yeah, I mean, I love all the John Wicks, but I think they get more interesting as they escalate. Although the second
Yeah,
one still might be my favorite. But
that's
like,
the best.
yeah, Bullet Train. I I hope it's a hit because it is quote unquote an original action movie. Like it's based on a book. But in America, that's basically an original idea at this point. So like I do hope it's a success because it's like a mid-budget actioner. And it's like if this works, then that means other people are going to try to make stuff like it, at least in that budget range, hopefully. And like that's a good thing. So I could watch it and be like,
I want 2000s era like action movies to come back, and it feels like with Prey we almost got like the mid-budget like sci-fi action horror, and I want all of this to continue happening, even the movies like that are probably going to be like lukewarm response for me, like a Bullet Train. I still want to watch it.
Yeah, it's the fact they exist.
Yeah, you know,
exactly.
like I know not everyone loved Ambulance, but I was like glad it got made.
LA.
Yes,
exactly.
It was great when they go up like the building and then they go down like a roller coaster.
Someone showed Michael Bay how to use a drone camera and ride buildings, and he was just like, do that every scene, every 10 minutes, give me a cool drone shot. And you know what? Every time it happened, I lost my mind.
Yeah. Also, what were people saying? It's like ally Michael Bay.
Comrade Michael Bay, because he's like, it's like openly complaining about like healthcare in this country, and it's like that's more left wing than like some politicians at this point. But whatever. Yeah. So I hope Bullet Train works for people, or at least makes money, because like that's I want that. It's funny. I wasn't like watching a lot of TV this year, but right now I'm caught up on Harley Quinn on HBO Max.
Love it.
Please don't cancel it. It's good. Don't cancel Young Justice either. Just give me one more season. And today I started Only Murders in the Building.
Is that the one with Selena Gomez?
Selena Gomez, Martin Short, Steve Martin.
And for some reason, Cara Delevingne. She's in everything.
Is she?
She's in the second season.
Oh, I'm only in the first season. Nobody fucking tell me anything. This is one thing we're talking about, like, spoilers, whatever. I will say for murder mysteries, I do get a little like, okay, wait, no, now don't tell me.
Well, anything. Like a lot of the magic of a murder mystery is that you don't know the whodunit, right? Like,
yeah.
Because at this point, it's a game. That's the thing where I think that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. It's like if that's the one I'll give everyone. It's like, okay, that one that genre, don't discuss that. But yeah, I'm having a blast with it. I'm only like 3 episodes in. Nathan Lane popped up. I didn't know he was in it, so I love Nathan Lane. That just made me even happier. And whoever assembled this cast for that, I think it's Steve Martin because he like co-created it. Props to you, because it's fun to just watch them like banter. Like I get a little annoyed with like too cutesy banter, but I'm like, this is a really fun dynamic. Just do this. Yeah. Just do this all the time, and I'm gonna keep tuning in. And Harley Quinn's great. I mean that's all I got. Just it's a show that kind of like just. You know what you're gonna get. It's like almost the Deadpoolification of Harley Quinn, I thought, but like it's actually like got a lot more going on beneath the surface, and it's like
Ron Funches is King Shark.
King Shark's fantastic in the show, but I like that it's like how she kind of has to like come into her own outside of the Joker, but also like she still wants to be like a supervillain, and it's like, hey, those two, like being a better person and being a supervillain, are gonna come in conflict with one another at some point, and that's when the show gets really interesting. So it's been fun to watch it evolve.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for this episode today. Anybody want to yell or plug something? Like just rant about something else? I mean, go ahead. I'm gonna give everyone the floor. Otherwise, you could just wrap it up right now.
I will say one thing I forgot that I watched, not because I disliked it, but Belle, the Mamoru Hosoda, that hit streaming, so I watched that. And you know what? It's a beautiful movie, but I'll say it before and I'll say it again. Homies made the same movie like 4 different times. Yeah. So Digimon the movie, Summer Wars. And now Belle. It's all the same movie. But you know what? I'm a sucker for a shared MMORPG. People with drama unfolds in real. Like I'm a sucker for it, and it's a cool Beauty and the Beast like adaptation.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that director, but I as much as I'm looking forward to that, because I know it's just HBO Max, right? Yeah. Like watching the trailer, I was like, okay, I've seen you do this before, but you're good at it, so I'm gonna watch it anyway.
Exactly. And the HBO Max only has the English dub, so there's no original. But it was, you know what? It wasn't too bad. It was pretty good, and also it was wild because I just looked at the credits and Chase Crawford's in it. The Deep, from
Oh God.
from The Boys. So
Wow.
like it's just like wow,
Interesting.
what an interesting choice.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
He's
Like,
good on that show.
yeah.
I don't like that
Sometimes,
character, but he's good on that
yeah.
show.
Sometimes
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
dubs are interesting. Like for Porco Rosso, Michael Keaton is the pig.
Right.
The
Right.
Ghibli dubs are like legendary. They're kind of
Yeah.
like the best ones like ever.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it's like that
Who
and
is
Cowboy Bebop, I guess.
Who is Kiki in
I think Kirsten
or
Dunst.
not Kiki. What's the cat's name?
Gigi.
Gigi. Yeah, who played
Gigi.
Gigi? Wasn't it Gigi Cat?
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's why like that's
R.I.P.
one of those where I'm like, wow, what a choice. I love it.
Yeah. He's a great voice actor. Him as Lionel
Yeah, he's
Hutz.
great.
Troy McClure, where he's like
He was very
Kiwi's
good.
Playhouse. Yeah. R.I.P. to a real one.
Pour
Yeah.
one out.
Pour one out.
But that was the last one. I
No,
promise.
no,
I'm
it's totally
done.
fine. We always like just end up ranting about something. So this is basically the same thing.
Yeah. Just run
Go.
out of steam eventually.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. On that note, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. Where can the people find you online? Unless you don't want them
Thank
to
you.
find you, which is also acceptable.
Thank you for having me, and you
Mhm.
can follow me everywhere at Advent Nick. At Advent Nick on everything.
Nice.
All right. And Gene, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Gene9892.
And you could find me at the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, where you can get early access to stuff like the retrospectives. Monkey Bone's out tomorrow, the Monkey Bone retrospective. Shout out Dan Doherty, who's basically the reason we did that episode. Prey. Matt and I continue the Predator retrospective, which we were unsure was ever going to happen, frankly, after 2018. Again, I said I like that movie. I also recognize it basically killed the franchise. So, Prey. There's extended thoughts there, so I'm trying not to talk about it too much anymore. I've been on like 5 podcasts talking about it now. I'm good. I got my piece.
Yeah.
Everyone go watch it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like this episode, like and subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. All right, take care, stay safe, have fun. We have been professionally unprofessional.